So you remember like 3 years ago now, Valve came out of pretty much nowhere and just dropped the announcement that they were making the most powerful handheld in the world. This thing, which at launch was met with a lot of, let's just say, interesting reviews. Basically, to summarize it all, word on the street was that it wasn't quite ready yet. Could be disruptive, but it had a lot to go. I bought one without really any expectations. I picked up the entry model during Christmas, and it honestly blew my mind. So I love to make videos about things I find interesting for the channel, and I became so obsessed with how much this changed the way I play my games that it became one of my favorite purchases in the last decade, no question. But that was also back when PC gaming handhelds were not really being challenged. There weren't a lot of big names in the space yet. Your options were Valve's new experimental Steam Deck or the other Windows handhelds from primarily smaller Chinese companies. So the LCD Steam Deck used to be my favorite handheld. It was my gateway into the space, but now that we have challengers like the Ally, the Legion Go, GPD devices have gotten really good. Valve's secret weapon, is it the Steam Deck OLED? It's not truly a Steam Deck 2 for Valve, but they've had time to cook this thing into absolutely achieving their original vision. So 10 months later, 11 months later, updates galore, sitting in a space that is saturated with competition. What makes this stand out and be worthy of your money? It's far from the fastest handheld out there. It doesn't have a high resolution screen. The refresh rate gets beat out by pretty much everybody else, but yet it still manages to be at the peak of this revolution. And the thing is, it might not make much sense if you're brand new to this space why you consider getting arguably worse hardware. If you're looking for a race car, you probably want high-end performance numbers. But then again, there's a reason why people choose certain cars, and it's because of the experience, not just the pure horsepower. And if you zoom out and you ask the question, give me one solid reason why I should pick a Steam Deck over the rest of the competition. Everyone else is chasing performance, they use it in their marketing, they have their own built-in software suites, which have gotten better, no doubt, but they're within the limits of Windows. And these devices suit the power-hungry audience that wants the best performance and FPS on handhelds perfectly. And Valve knows this. So what if you create an environment which is friendly to PC gamers and also to console gamers who don't care if it's not the blazing fast hardware? If you've ever taken a look at how many people are still on PS4 and Xbox One, you notice that clearly not every person out there wants the latest and greatest hardware. And that's exactly what Valve has done with the Steam Deck OLED. Notice there's no mention of it being the most powerful gaming handheld in the world anymore. Hardware is not really the primary focus. It's more about having your games everywhere. They've optimized SteamOS to the point where it can offer an even more refined and easy experience for the user. Linux has never been great with game compatibility. Trust me, Valve's journey to getting Linux to an optimal state for gaming was not free from roadblocks. Just take a look at where Linux game compatibility was at launch and look at it today. If a game doesn't support the Steam Deck at release, it's now a pretty big deal. Valve is known for updates and supporting its hardware lifecycle for what feels like forever, and bringing an OLED display to a handheld is not a new thing by any means. Don't get me wrong, having infinite contrast and inky blacks at 90 Hz is awesome, but the work behind the scenes, getting HDR to work on an OLED display while gaming, is different, not being held back anymore by the LCD display, which arguably had pretty flat colors before the updates, which is another step toward refining the platform. Not having Windows is a deal breaker for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's a selling point for people that don't want to deal with the onslaught of Windows updates in a time where it feels like every modern game has to be connected online nowadays. Let's be honest, the current console generation has been pretty flat when it comes to new titles, so we're like in the perfect time for a backlog annihilator to kind of just crunch through all the titles you haven't gotten to without having to be online all the time. And that's what makes the Steam Deck an outstanding choice. Not every AAA game, especially new ones, are going to run perfectly on this. You'll be better suited with something more powerful for sure, if that's what you're looking for. But you might be shopping for power without knowing you want ecosystem. Because when you buy a Steam Deck, you're not just investing into the hardware, but the SteamOS platform. And what I mean by this is that you know Valve is not going to be releasing a new model every year, and you're not going to be concerned about them dropping support for your current device. So all this does is it creates trust in consumers and developers who know if I'm putting my time and money into this platform, it's not going to get dropped or abandoned in a couple years. And once you have a rock solid platform paired with the reliability of quality hardware, you get a package that you feel secure and trust using. The Steam Deck OLED only improved the overall repairability. It also got lighter, it runs cooler, improved the battery, the audio, the haptics, the buttons were refined, all while Valve continued to reinforce what sits underneath the hardware. And at the same time, the experience you get gaming at 800p 90 Hz is a step below 1080 120, but it manages to look great because of the screen size and utilizes OLED to make the games look almost 3D. So it's easier to drive titles at this resolution, and emulation is an entire rabbit hole you can jump into. It just really shows you that Steam Decks in general are like Swiss Army knives of console gaming. The response time and motion clarity of OLED is insane for retro gaming. You can create pretty much any control scheme with the trackpad support, the community-made inputs, which make it one of the most adaptable devices out there. It also happens to be extremely open to tinker with, which is especially important for those who want to customize and mod this thing to the absolute limits. And then at the same time, to be perfect for console gamers who just want a plug-and-play experience. You just pick it up, and sleep to wake gets you back in your game in an instant. It's really weird to make a review that sounds so much like an advertisement, but I promise you Valve has never sponsored the channel, let alone sent anything for review. It's just really my own personal opinion. I think the Steam Deck right now sits in a space where it's the strongest it's been since launch. I still believe it's not for everybody out there. There will be people better suited by a more powerful handheld, like the Steam Deck is a compromise in a lot of areas, but the continued support from Valve, including the warranty and update reliability, makes this a killer choice against all the consoles out there right now. Buying games on Steam can always offer a really good value in the space, and being able to just bring your entire game library on the go whenever, wherever, really just reignites a lot of the passion and enjoyment for gaming, where you can just kick back and enjoy the experience with as little distractions as possible. It's one of the few areas in tech right now where I feel like it's not boring and everyone can root for the Ally, the Legion Go, the Steam Deck, kind of all moving this industry forward and making it a more interesting space. So that's pretty much the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and that's what I think about the Steam Deck in its current space right now. Big thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.